Hello and welcome to another episode of Disney Movie Investigation. If this is your first time watching, welcome to the show. In each episode, we take a look at a movie that is featured on Disney+. On this episode, we are going into the world of Star Wars as we take a look at Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. And if you are enjoying these videos, I do ask that you please hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified with each new episode. Now, sit back and enjoy this episode of Disney Movie Investigation. So like I said, today we're covering Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. This movie was released on May 6th, 1980. It was directed by Ivan Kershner. The story is, of course, by George Lucas. The screenplay was by Lawrence Kasdan and Leah Brackett. And the production company was Lucasfilm. And it was distributed by 20th Century Fox. The budget for this movie was $30.5 million, and it did a box office return of $549 million. In terms of the production, after the success of Star Wars: A New Hope, a sequel was quickly put into production. This was like even as Star Wars was still in the theaters. Lucas, although had already put a sequel into development, thinking that if Star Wars was a bomb, and Alan Dean Foster wrote the screenplay, and this screenplay would later be released as a novel called Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Lucas was very hesitant to direct a sequel as the first movie was very stressful and had a negative impact on his health. Lucas did for a time consider selling the project to 20th Century Fox in exchange for profit percentage, but Lucas decided against this as he was too invested in the creation of his characters. Lucas decided to fund the project independently and would use the $12 million profit from Star Wars: A New Hope to relocate Industrial Light and Magic to establish Skywalker Ranch in Marin County, California. Lucas would also take out an $8 million loan from the Bank of America to fund his Star Wars sequel. Fox would have the first right to refusal in the sequel, and negotiations would begin in 1977. In previous negotiations for Star Wars, Fox had already given Lucas controlling interest in sequels and merchandising rights, as Fox was not even confident in Star Wars at that time. The deal for the sequel was made quickly on September 21st, 1977, with Fox distributing the film with no creative input for an exchange of 50% of the gross on the first $20 million in tickets sold, with a profit percentage increase to 77.5% if the movie exceeded $100 million in profits. This would put Lucas in a huge financial risk if the movie failed, but it was also huge rewards if the movie succeeded. To help with the risks, Lucas formed Chapter 2 Company to control the film's development and absorb some of its liabilities. He also founded another company called Black Falcon to license merchandising rights, which would help Lucas fund future projects. In terms of writing of the script, Lucas began to formulate ideas in August of 1977. Several ideas for this included the Emperor, Luke's lost sister, explaining the facial injuries that Mark Hamill had suffered after an accident had occurred after the initial Star Wars had been wrapped. Because Lucas did not enjoy developing the Star Wars universe, Lucas would hire Leah Brackett to help with the screenplay. The two would meet for story conferences between November 20th and December 2nd, 1977, and Lucas would have the core ideas, but Brackett would piece them together. Lucas envisioned one main plot with 3 different subplots that set across 60 scenes with a 2-hour runtime. The outline for this collaboration between Brackett and Lucas included the Wookiee homeworld, new aliens, the Galactic Emperor, a gambler from Han's past, and Luke's lost twin sister. The first draft of this script was completed in February of 1978, and the title was Star Wars Sequel: The Adventures of Luke Skywalker. Lucas had several notes and attempted to contact Brackett, but unfortunately she was hospitalized and would later pass away from cancer shortly thereafter. Lucas had no choice but to write the second draft himself and submitted a draft on April 1st, and leaving the ending open for a third film. In June of 1978, Lucas was impressed with Lawrence Kasdan's work on Raiders of the Lost Ark that Lucas hired him to redraft the second screenplay. Kasdan focused mostly on character relationships and psychologies. In terms of filming and music, John Williams was hired to compose the score, and it was performed by the London Symphony Orchestra to $250,000. The recording took three 18-hour sessions with a total of 104 musicians. Filming for the actual movie began on March 5, 1979 in Finns, Norway, and the weather conditions made filming hard, with cameras often freezing and having to be reheated, and getting to and from the sets made it difficult because the roads were often snowed in by avalanches. Filming after the Planet Hoth moved to L Street in London and on several sound stages. This film shoot was a difficult shoot, and filming would often be delayed for a variety of reasons. One included cast illnesses, such as Carrie Fisher suffering from influenza and bronchitis. Bank of America then began visiting the set because of the rising production costs, and along with Lucas, who also visited the set on May 6, worried about his project. Finances would eventually run out in mid-July when the Bank of America refused to loan Lucas any more money. The crisis was kept away from the crew by having them being paid bi-weekly instead of weekly, and borrowing money from the Black Falcon Company. And Fox was threatening to buy out Lucas and take over. What George Lucas's ultimate solution was, because there was about 20% left of filming, is president of Lucasfilm, Charles Weber, arranged for the Bank of Boston to loan $31 million, and this also included $3 million by Fox in exchange for a higher profit percentage and 10% of the merchandising profits. For those that are, I'm going to stop there because this goes into huge financial detail and stuff like that. But for those of you that are interested, there is a great documentary on Disney Plus called Empire of Dreams that goes into great detail. So that's basically the premise. And then, so we'll go into the cast now. So the cast has Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, Harrison Ford as Han Solo, James Earl Jones provides the voice of Darth Vader, David Prowse as Darth Vader the Body, Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian, Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, and Frank Oz as Yoda. In terms of the plot, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, and Chewbacca face attack by Imperial forces on the ice planet Hoth. While Han and Leia escape in the Millennium Falcon, Luke travels to the Dagobah system in search of Yoda. Only with the Jedi's Master's help will Luke survive when the dark side of the Force beckons on him to the ultimate duel with Darth Vader. In terms of the legacy of the movie, this one has a kind of an interesting story too, where Lucas wanted the credits to be at the end of the film to avoid interfering with the opening crawl. The Writers Guild and the Directors Guild of America did allow this for the first film because Lucas had directed this himself. However, for the second film, they refused to allow Kirshner to only be credited at the end. They would ultimately want to fine Lucas for $250,000. Because Lucas shot the film in the UK and he had followed UK laws, they could not fine Lucas, but they did fine Kirshner. Lucas would ultimately pay the fine, but because of his frustration, Lucas would ultimately leave the Writers Guild, the Directors Guild of America, and the Motion Pictures Association. The film obviously did very well, and the movie would go on to win Academy Awards for Best Sound and a special achievement award for special effects. The movie would be released on home video. Along several years later, there was a special edition where Lucas would make changes that Lucas thought would make the film better. The character of Boba Fett also gained great popularity because of this movie, and there have been numerous projects with Boba Fett, but in December of 2021, the character would get his own spin-off series on Disney+. So would I recommend this movie? I think this is one of the best Star Wars movies out there. It's top to bottom, great storytelling, great character development. It leaves on a cliffhanger, which is really well done. I also think this is a standout performance from Harrison Ford because at the end of the movie, you're wanting to kind of what happens to Han Solo. you're wanting that extra chapter, and it almost makes you want to go right into Return of the Jedi right there. I can't imagine back in 1980 having to wait like 2 to 3 years for it. So overall, definitely recommend this movie, as I think it is one of the best Star Wars movies out there. So thank you so much for joining us here on Disney Movie Investigation. I would love for anyone to please leave a comment below on what they think of Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. And as we look forward to our next episode, we are going into the world of canines as we take a look at Because of Winn-Dixie. So until next time, I hope you have a magical day, and we will see you real soon.